How's it going, everybody? I am popping on the live stream to talk about political violence, the state of fake news, some of the issues that I was dealing with today. If you're just tuning in, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for new videos every day at 4 p.m. and periodic live streams that don't have a set schedule as of yet, though Sundays at 8 p.m. tend to be normal. I just like to hop on whenever I have the opportunity. So for those that are new to the stream, there's your opening info. You can give a thumbs up, helps support the YouTube channel because the YouTube algorithm likes it when you engage. And if you want to support the work that I do, you can go to timcast.com/donate and give whatever you'd like, donations, monthly, Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever. And also there's a super chat feature where if in the chat you want your comment to appear above everyone else's, you can give at least $5 and that will put you in a special section, making it easier for me to read. But really, any super chat amount appears in like this box where all the super chats are, and I can read those very easily. I want to do this live stream because I just appeared on Tucker Carlson, and actually, I might be able to pull up that tweet. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can't. Yeah, maybe I can. And show you just a bit of what I said, and I wanted to elaborate on the topics we were talking about. We were talking about Antifa, particularly a video where I was confronted, I would say almost attacked by someone associated with Antifa. This was back in May, and so I appeared and we talked about it, but I didn't get to express all of the ideas that needed to be said because the segments are relatively short. So let me see if I can find this segment, and I got it right here, and let me pop this on for you guys so you can watch in case you missed it. I don't know if this is going to make Fox News mad at me for showing this, but you know, here you go.
It's not one group of people, it's just it tends to be a fractured group of people who share enough of their ideologies that they're willing to get violent.
Oops.
It's not one group of people, it's just it tends to be a fractured group of people who share enough of their ideologies that they're willing to get violent to do it. Often I find that many of them truly believe they're fighting a revolution against, you know, the empire of the United States. And I will say that some of these people have legitimate grievances, but as soon as they decide to get violent to push those ideas, they discredit themselves. But, you know, unfortunately, I don't think there's a unified cause behind them. Many of the people that we're seeing today associated with Antifa were just anti-capitalist protesters 4 years ago. Say at Occupy Wall Street, they would chant anticapitalista. Today, they chant antifascista. So it's hard to pin down exactly what, you know, as a single group or as a single ideology, what they're trying to do is, because it tends to change with the trend.
And there you have it. I was on Tucker Carlson's show talking about Antifa, and I only really got to say a couple little sound bites. The whole segment was less than a few minutes. So the important thing to remember is that, or to know, one of the first things I did was pointed out that many, if not the majority of these people are communists. They show a video in the beginning of the segment where a man was attacking me, you know, getting up in my face saying, "Come on, hit me," and like swinging at me and stuff. And this guy was identified as a communist by his friends. They called him a communist. And I think, as one of the things I said on TV was, the people who are willing to get violent tend to believe in a more structured ideology. They have something they actually want to push and want to achieve. Whereas some people associated with Antifa or anti-capitalist protesters or somebody who just wants to don the black bloc tactic might be an anarchist, in which case they don't necessarily adhere to a structured ideology. And in many instances, the anarchists associated with Antifa, I have found, tend to be less violent. I was actually able to interview someone in San Bernardino who was aligned with Antifa, wearing all black, but said they were an anarchist and they didn't want violence. So it's not monolithic. There's not one single entity here. But I think that most of the people who are going to dress in black bloc, who want to get violent, the reason I believe that they tend to be communist is that they're pushing an ideology and they're willing to get violent for it. So then you will tend to see people getting violent wearing all black, right? They want to break the law, they're going to do something illegal, something that the average person doesn't like, and they don't want to be identified they don't want to be identified doing it. So we got some super chats here. Rob Short wants to know what's under my head. Thank you for asking. And Mario Rudinsky, thank you for the super chat. I will pop off into some of the comments here. I'll probably just do the stream for a quick hour. I wanted to talk about a lot of the stuff having to do with Antifa because I know that there's going to be people out there taking what I say out of context. You know, they're going to try and mischaracterize me. I'm probably going to get attacked and called a Nazi for going on Fox News as it is. But I've never been one to refuse a platform based on a perceived bias. You know, I've had people ask me, because I think this is about the fourth time I've been on Fox News. I've also been on MSNBC and other platforms. But I've had people ask me, why would you go on Fox News? They're liars and all that, yada, yada. And my response is, do you think I'm a liar? Do you think I'm going to go on TV and lie about what's going on? Well, no. Okay, so then what's the problem? People are kind of shocked that I went on in the past talking about political violence. There was an event in San Jose where a Trump supporter was hit in the back of the head. And yeah, I went on Fox News and people asked me, what did I say? And I said, I literally just told them I saw a Trump supporter get hit in the back of the head. It's not complicated. I just realized I didn't tweet this out. So I'm going to grab this URL real quick and make sure I tweet this out so people know I'm live. I need to hire someone to do this for me, right? And then the other subject I want to talk about too is fake news, because that was the story that I did today on YouTube. Live now, talking about political violence and fake news. It's much harder doing all of this on my own because there'll be periods where I'm just typing, please, I'm going to try and keep talking and typing at the same time. It's not easy. So in terms of the fake news stuff, there is this group that Vox has dubbed the Russia Sphere. So if you didn't watch the video I did earlier, this is like Luis Mensch and this guy Claude Taylor. And they frequently, and I believe this is confirmed, right? Don't take my word for it, Google search it, but a lot of news outlets are reporting that Luis Mensch, Claude Taylor, and many other people, they're flat out putting out fake news stories. In fact, one of the things I mentioned was that a senator had to apologize after making a statement which was attributed to Luis Mensch and a website called the Palmer Report. Here's what I can say. You know what? I'll say this. I can absolutely guarantee that Claude Taylor has put out fake news because he accuses Cassandra Fairbanks over and over again of being a Russian agent. And I can say with 99.9% certainty, and nothing's absolute, that Cassandra is not a Russian agent. I know Cassandra, and she seems like a regular person who happens to write political stories. And, she was a Bernie supporter, a Black Lives Matter supporter for a while, wrote for some, police accountability websites. And now she writes for a political site that's Big League Politics. So not a Nazi, not a Russian agent. But if this guy's going to tweet out that she is, that's fake news. Absolutely fake news. So if you got any comments, feel free to pop them down. It's easier to see the super chats, but super chats also help support my work. But talking back to political violence, and then we'll move into fake news, I just want to do a quick preface. Let's talk about the history of what I've dealt with political violence. So they showed this video on Fox News of this guy getting up in my face, and he's swinging at me and yelling at me. For no reason. I don't know who this guy is, right? He just came up to me and started yelling at me, and then other people started yelling at me. None of them know who I am. But this, as I pointed out on the show, is not the first time, and not even the worst. I've been physically attacked by people. So a lot of this goes back to Occupy Wall Street. And some interesting things happened at Occupy Wall Street that I feel like probably will never be written about. Because the idea of what Occupy Wall Street was is so romanticized amongst a lot of people from moderate to far left that the reality, or at least some of the reality, I'm not going to claim to know everything about what happened there, but I was down there, and I can say it wasn't this perfect event. It was very contentious. There was a fracturing within the park, two factions called the General Assembly and the General Union. But let's get to the political violence. So I started live streaming during Occupy Wall Street. I took my phone, I started using Ustream, and I would broadcast the protests. I have no allegiance to anybody. So I'm just here to show what's happening. Well, after covering some of these events, many people started getting frustrated when they noticed that not only would I show police violence, so, the police arresting or attacking people, but I would show the protesters agitating and being violent as well. So I had someone ask me to step outside. There's a place, it's called a publicly owned private space, they call it Pop Space. And this one, I believe, was underneath Deutsche Bank, not too far from where Zuccotti Park was. Someone came up to me and they asked me, would you please step outside and talk to me? I said, sure. And in private, they said, listen, you're not a corporate journalist. You don't work for these big companies. You need to support us and report, what we want you to report. And then I said, well, what do you mean, right? I'm just going to show people what's happening here. People want to know what's happening on the ground in New York. I'm going to show them. And he said, yeah, I understand. But listen, you're on our side. That means you need to only show, like, the police doing things that are wrong. Don't film us when we're doing bad things. I said, wait a minute. You're saying that when you guys break the law, you want me to turn the camera away and only film when the police are reacting to it? And the short answer was yeah. And I said, no. Whatever happens, happens, and I'm going to film it. Okay? And the response I got was, if you don't stop filming us, we will make you stop. And this started a long history of the far left in New York, for the most part, and in many other places, because they do talk to each other. It started this long history of them physically attacking me, lying about me, making up crazy stories, and even heckling events put on by people who actually, like, there was an event called the Left Forum, where I was invited to speak, and they heckled the event. And people there were upset because they knew who these protesters were. All right, I'm going to hit these super chats before moving on. We got someone from /poll saying, whoop whoop, mustache Matt did nothing wrong. You're a bald. I don't want to. I would say it, but I don't want to get my channel banned. And are a leftist in disguise. No, I think, you know, for politics here, leftist in disguise. I repeatedly tell everybody I'm a center-left liberal or libertarian, and consider myself to be pretty liberal. So I don't know why anyone thinks I'm in a disguise. I just try to be honest. And if I'm not correct, just try to explain, or I should say I try to be honest. I try to be correct as often as possible. And if I have an opinion, try to back that up with some facts. But I'm open to discussion. Justin 4 says, this chat is full of degenerates. Sure, by all means. Degenerates are welcome. Feel free to put whatever you want in the chat box, because most of the comments I can't see anyway. So I know that there's like comments flying like crazy, and it's very difficult for me to read. The super chats, however, I can read. So for politics who sent me $5 in order to insult me, please, I encourage all of you, anybody who wants to insult me or attack me, by all means send me money to do so. And I will read it to the extent that I don't want to get my channel banned. But, you know, I'll even read it again. Politics called me a bald, you know, I don't want to say it. I don't want to get my channel banned. YouTube's been pretty crazy, so that's the only real reason. But, you know, the comments there. Metal Query, $10. Keep doing what you're doing. Greatly appreciate it. So, got the super chats out of the way. Let's go back in time. After I was told to back down, to stay away from covering what these protesters were doing. Well, sure enough, someone started spreading a rumor that I had stolen something like $80,000 from Occupy Wall Street, of which I had no affiliation. Never worked with any of these people, never organized with any of these people. They invited me to events, I've seen their spaces, talked with many of them. A lot of them are really cool people, and I'm still friends with a lot of them who are off doing other things. Many of them kind of went off the deep end and became far left, anti-capitalists, or Antifa, or whatever. And they have been spreading rumors about me and what I do. One of the easiest, there's a couple really easy rumors that they use. One is that I film people's faces on purpose without their permission. And this was made up because it's considered a very egregious offense amongst many of these people in the far left. They wear masks on purpose. So one of the easiest ways to create a paranoia and fear about me and my work to try and stop me from filming things that are happening was to make up a rumor that I would walk up to people randomly and just film their faces even after they told me not to do it, which is not true at all. If you've watched any of my live streams, you know that I point the camera away from people before asking them if it's okay to be on camera, something that even BuzzFeed does not do. Got some super chats popping up here. What do you think about Jewish celebrities wearing yellow stars of David? I'm Jewish and I find it an annoying trend. I don't know. I'm not Jewish and I don't really have an opinion. If people are Jewish and they want to wear stars, by all means. If they don't, I don't know. I think you'd have to ask somebody who's more learned in the history and whatnot. Tim Pool, when will you land the kickflip over refugees? It will be bigger than the 900. Kickflip over refugees? If you watched my France coverage, where I actually went to some of these locations, I did a very beautiful kickflip over a garbage can. It was a whole lot of fun. So, now we're going to move on from the rumors being spread about me. Or actually, no, there's a little bit more there. One of the other rumors that they spread is that I'm alt-right. So with Berkeley on April 15th, when this big event happened between, you know, the free speech rally, which was mostly run-of-the-mill conservatives, Trump supporters, some white nationalists, I would say it was a very small faction, and a very small faction of liberals. They actually posted to a website that I was an alt-right troll, that I was despised amongst the community, and to watch out for me because I'm a Trump supporter and things like that. And they actually posted a picture of my mom. I got hit this super chat here. Thoughts on people hitting back against Google with ad nauseum? Baba BK. What do you mean hitting back against Google? I think some people are bringing up, there's a subreddit which talks about offenses Google does against particular political groups or censoring and things like that. But I think what people don't realize when it comes to Google is that they really are targeting the left. I think it's possible, it's entirely possible, they target the right more often. I think a lot of the higher profile attacks we see on social media from censoring affect people who are considered right-wing. But I actually tweeted out a while ago that they demonetized a left-wing commentator. And this is a video that I'm gonna comment on this, but I'm still doing a bit of research, and I planned on doing this video yesterday. I might do it tomorrow. But let me just say, for a preview, my mom makes math videos, okay? She just makes videos where there's a couple minutes long where she explains how to do math problems. And yes, YouTube demonetized her second grade math explainer. It was something like two little owls hooting at each other explaining math. And it has to be the most family-friendly damn thing you've ever seen. But that also got demonetized. So I don't think it's one side or the other. And Omar Dunn gives a super chat. He says, Augustus Invictus is not a white nationalist. Talk to him. So when I mentioned in some of the videos that Augustus was, I always preface this with, as far as I know, he's believed to be a white nationalist, and I have said I could be wrong, so correct me if that's the case. And I see a lot of people hitting back at me saying that is the case. But I bring this up because there have been some articles and some events that he's attended where he is associated with white nationalists, and I'm careful to preface this because I understand what the media does when they just label someone. But on let me pull this up actually. On Augustus's Wikipedia, it says he's received heavy criticism for his association with white nationalists. And I actually have I do know some people who know him personally who have told me that they believe he was. So I try to preface that and not directly call anyone, but yeah, it says, here on his Wikipedia that he's been widely criticized within the Libertarian Party for his use of fascist imagery and a history of white nationalist associations. Doesn't mean he is one, so I'll take that for what it is, but, I try. So moving on from these super chats, again, I will remind everybody, if you're not familiar, because I know some people have put in smaller amounts, but at least $5 is what gets your comment to appear above everyone else's. Even if you give a super chat and it's less than that, it kind of just scrolls past really quickly, so I might not be able to see it. But I appreciate it. So going back to political violence and Antifa and these attacks and all that stuff, with Berkeley, they started spreading rumors about me. I made a video about this just before the event where I went down to Civic Center Park and was confronted by some skateboarders. So I skate, right? I don't think you can actually see it right there. Boom. I got some skateboards on my wall. And I was just skating, and they come up to me and started saying I was a Trump supporter and some other nonsense that was made up. Because as you can see from a lot of people in the comments, that I'm a leftist in disguise. And I talked to one of these guys who came up to me and he asked me, do you support Trump? And I said, no, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a journalist. And he said, okay. And he walked away. Got another super chat here. You can't trust Wikipedia. They list Mike Cernovich and Basic Net as white nationalists. SJWs heavily edit the site. And that is true. I've made some videos about this when they particularly were attacking Brittany Pettibone. On Wikipedia, they had her listed as a neo-Nazi white nationalist and things like that. But the links they used didn't actually link to any sources that had her name in it. So if you look at her Wikipedia page, which has since been deleted, partly because of me calling out the attack page that was her entry, you can see that the articles they used to source her didn't even have her name in it, like I was saying. So let's see. Folks Brian, super chat, he says he farted. Hey, appreciate it. Joseph Kripe, he says, is doing what you're doing really worth all the harassment, death threats? I'm sure you ignore all the crap anyway, huh? You make good money doing this. Well, I wouldn't say I make good money doing this, but I make enough to live, and that's important. What I will say is that for someone like me in the work that I've done as a founding member of Vice News, as one of the original members of Fusion at the time, I've been paid way more money, and the difference there is, I'll say this: not only are you paid more money, but they cover all of your expenses. So really great salaries between the two companies and expenses covered. So I could just snap my fingers, hop on a plane, fly somewhere without issue. And I also find it really funny that in connecting this idea with the criticism and the rumors that spread about me, I've had people associated with the far left spread rumors that I work for the government as one of their explanations as to how does Tim travel so much, not realizing that I worked for Vice News, and Vice is a multi-billion-dollar company, or that I worked for Fusion, which is part of Univision, and at the time was part of Disney, two other multi-billion-dollar companies. But when I worked for Vice, moving on to this dangerous, and scary world of fake rumors, I went to Venezuela to cover the student uprising, which has escalated even to today. And someone in New York associated with the far left, they hate me so much for refusing to bow down to them, to give them the propaganda they wanted, that they sent some fake information to a pundit saying that I worked for U.S. Aid and that I was a member of the CIA. And actually, I don't know if you can see it, but that blue piece of paper right there on my wall is a printout of a tweet from this man in Venezuela with over 1 million followers, saying that I was a media mercenary sent by the United States to destabilize the revolution. This resulted in something like 15,000 tweets sent my way in only a few minutes, of which an untold number of death threats, and I was forced to flee the country. Vice had to pull me out really quickly and send in a different crew. So I'm sitting in my hotel room, my Twitter feed's blowing up saying, "We're coming for you, Yankee, we're going to get you," all because one person in New York hates me so much because I refused to produce propaganda for their cause. They thought I should die. They thought that I deserved to die. And I'm in my hotel. We're on the phone. We're discussing security. How do we handle this? And the decision was, as soon as the sun cracks, get in a car, get to the airport, first flight out, and that's what I did. And when I came back, there was an intern at Vice who was Venezuelan, and he said, "How did you get out? They've detained people for much less. They've detained people who had permission to be there. And you were accused by a major personality of being a spy and had tens of thousands of people tweeting at you, and you were able to get out." And the truth was, I got lucky. I got out quick before anyone noticed. So we got some more super chats here. Have you considered doing a segment on how dangerous it is for TLD registrars to ban on political grounds, and what if Google starts to censor its public DNS? I talked a little bit about that when the Daily Stormer got banned, but I could elaborate a bit more. A lot of videos I've done in the past, I've talked about technology and surveillance because I am not only a journalist, but I'm also a hacker, so I've got a lot of friends in the hacker community, and I've built weird robots, which I showed on my last live stream. We got Jim Pseudonym, thank you for the super chat here. And we've got another super chat here that I missed. Achman8709 says, "Tim, what do you think people can do to turn back from this road of political violence?" Honestly, I don't know. What I do know is that, one of the things I've said is that these free speech rallies, no matter what you think about them, if you're legitimate or not, the people speaking should pull back. I made a video where I explained the Boston rally probably shouldn't happen. Not because you want to declare loss, not because you want to lose, but because sometimes to win the war, you have to retreat from a battle. And after Charlottesville, things were so intense, there's nothing to be gained from having these rallies. Now, Berkeley, look at what happened. They cancel the event. They pull out. Antifa still shows up and beats people. And finally now, we see Joe Scarborough of MSNBC say, "What is going on?" We see Washington Post write an article. Let me pull this up. That right-wing protesters, peaceful right-wing protesters, were attacked. And I've got this right here. Let me pull this up and show you. Black-clad Antifa members attack peaceful right-wing demonstrators in Berkeley. So it was the right move to cancel these events. And look at this photo. This sign right here, it says "No Hate." And they're using a "No Hate" sign to beat a 16-year-old kid and his dad. It's absolutely ridiculous. But guess what happens? Look at this press coverage, okay? Canceling the event was the right move, all right? I'm not right all the time, but I'm right sometimes, and in this instance, I was correct. So good on the people who canceled and pulled out, and it was a smart decision made by the people who were hosting this Berkeley rally, because look what ends up happening. Antifa makes themselves look really bad over it. And I'm not saying this because one side should look bad or one side should look good. The issue is, do we want to be effective? If these anti-fascist groups, if these far-left groups wanted to achieve something, this was the wrong way to go about it, and this press coverage shows that. Kendall Wolf here in a super chat says, "Tim, do you practice any specific schools of philosophy?" I don't. I want to go back because I did miss a super chat, but I see it right here. Someone says, Silas Grun, there's some numbers there. I'm not going to read them, but thank you for your money. And he says, "I think Tim Pool's really great." It's funny nonetheless, but I can't read it. Not because I don't want to. You're free to troll me and post whatever you'd like. I just can't get my channel banned, so I can't say it, right? I will not encourage anyone to say these things they're posting. That's also against the rules, but unless YouTube wants to do something about it, there's nothing I can do. So at that point, do whatever you... again, if you want to post something to troll me, make sure it's family-friendly to a certain degree. You can insult me, you can call me like a bald cuck or something, but there's certain words that I can't say. I'm not going to get my channel banned for your trolling, but I do appreciate the money you guys are sending my way. Super chat from Santiago says, clearly the dad and kid were secretly Hispanic white supremacists. Yeah, that's really funny. I mean, look, let's be real here. This kid, let me pull this article back up. We'll be real. This kid right here, he's wearing what I believe is a Pinochet shirt that says helicopter on it. And that's really offensive to a lot of people. So I've had someone say to me that this kid, he needed some sense knocked into him. And my response to that is, this kid? 16-year-old kid? He doesn't know what he's doing. Come on. How old is this guy right here? How old are these people associated with Antifa? We know that the Eric Clanton guy was in like his late 30s or something. Is that okay? Look at these gloves he's wearing. You see this? It's okay for these people who are clearly like attacking a kid. The kid doesn't know what he's doing. We treat juveniles with a certain degree of how do I say this? We cut them some slack, as it were. Because come on, he thinks he's funny. He doesn't understand the full ramifications of politics and what's going on. And to beat him and his dad doesn't even know what's going on. I'm sure this guy right here has no idea what that shirt means. But sure enough, they will beat you with signs that say no hate. It's paradoxical, to say the least. Ryan here says, stop counter-signaling alt-right. No one but the alt-right is doing anything significant to stop Antifa. Look at the alt-light rally numbers. Sad. Yeah, but you know what the issue is? The alt-right is a mix of people that includes white nationalists, and some of these people, they regularly yell things like Nazi slogans, and they want to say, look, let's talk about the issue with like the people who are being called Nazis by the mainstream media and fake news, and we can segue this into fake news. If you're going to go to an event and you're going to yell the Nazi slogan, in English, I might add, right? Not the actual Nazi slogan, but the English version, the equivalent of that. And you're going to say a bunch of things about how these people claim they like Hitler, or they're, as they call it, revisionists, who believe history is wrong. And while, hey, this is America, you can believe whatever you want, don't be surprised if you say things that you consider to be positive about Hitler, and then also you are out there yelling Nazi slogans. Don't be surprised that when people call you a Nazi. Because we're not talking about the literal definition of a national socialist from Germany. We're talking about the colloquial use of the word. And I will admit the far left uses it in a ridiculously improper standard. Most people use it to reference those who espouse positive things about Nazi Germany or the Nazis, those who yell the Nazi slogans and have ideas that are in some way similar to this racial identity that the Nazis were well known for using. There's a certain degree to which someone is a neo-Nazi, and the word itself, National Socialist, is very contentious because a lot of people say that the Nazis in Germany only used the term socialist as a means to attract the left to their cause, and they weren't actually interested in being far left. That's a complicated issue, but I think the way I describe it is this. If you're going to yell slogans like the actual Nazi call, and this is what a lot of people at the Unite the Right rally were doing, and many of the people who claim that they're alt-right and not Nazis are seen on camera yelling Nazi slogans. They're attending an event where someone was brandishing a Nazi flag, where a large group of people wearing white shirts were chanting Nazi chants, like actual chants from Nazi Germany, while screaming, "Jews will not replace us," yes, then unfortunately you are standing next to people who are most easily identified as neo-Nazis. And if you are seen yelling those slogans, then you will be identified as that as well. And that's different from what the far left does, where they say everyone who supports Trump is a Nazi, everyone's a fascist. No, I think the definition comes down to a colloquial use of the word that is used to most easily identify people who are standing next to and yelling things associated with Nazi Germany. And come on, man. If you're going to go out there and yell the actual Nazi slogan and get mad when someone calls you a Nazi, well, you got to check yourself because you're making some pretty dumb moves. All right, let's hit some of these super chats here. Sean Rufus Thanks for your work. I know you've said this before, but you don't want to limit chat, but your chat is nasty and incoherent like a bunch of children. I'd like to offer to mod your chat. You know, it is what it is. I think, you know, I believe in free speech. If people want to come in here and say a bunch of stuff, by all means, they're allowed to say it, you know. And there's a lot of people who are actually sending me money because they want to troll me. And I think that's kind of the funniest paradox. Like, you want to troll me and you send me money. Dude, I'm down. Hell. You can say whatever you want. I mean, if you say something against the terms of service, then YouTube will ban you. And I'm never going to encourage anyone to do something that violates terms of service. But you want to send me money and say stuff, you know. Thanks for the money. Chatelet. Hi, Tim Pool. Tim Pool's hat. I'm a big fan. And then they wrote the 14 words, which I can't say, not because I have any opposition to people saying what they want to say, but I don't want to get my channel banned, so I can't say it. The same thing, from the Gath, the same thing about standing next to people with Nazi flags can be said about people standing next to the masked flags with communist flags. Absolutely. And when I was in Boston, I brought this up to one of the organizers from DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. He claimed that you had people over on the right side carrying a Confederate flag, and what are people supposed to assume when they see that? And I said, totally agree. And you've got people with the Soviet flag, and what are people supposed to assume when they see that? To which he denied. He said, no, there's no Soviet flag here. And then I turned and pointed, and he went, oh, geez, that does not represent us. And I said, you see, man, what do you think those people are going to say about the Confederate flag? They're going to say that as much as they don't agree with it, people have a right to carry a flag if they want to. Let's hit some more of these super chats here. He doesn't need your censorship. Someone's mad about the modding, but thank you for the $5. Billy B. He says, how do I deal with my friends who think I'm a Nazi sympathizer for calling out Antifa? Man, if your friends aren't going to listen to you, then I guess they're not your friends. I've got friends who have attacked me, and I'd consider there was a point where we weren't friends for a while, and I was like, dude, why are you yelling at me? And then I said, they chilled out, and then I hit them up and said, why don't you let me buy you a coffee? And we met up, and we talked, and they apologized, and we're friends again, and we're good friends, and so I appreciate that. Whoa, too many super chats coming in. Okay, so ATP 1776, good super chat amount. Thank you for the donation. But Tim, now all the lefty media has to do to get a conservative rally like the anti-Google diversity rally canceled is to say Nazi, and then 1,000 Antifa and thousands others show up. That's true. And that's why I said it was smart to cancel the events. Look, the media was against everybody. They were against these organizers in this rally, and the protesters were as well. But what happens when they canceled, right? I said the smart move was to cancel. They did. And now you've got the Washington Post and MSNBC calling out Antifa. Because when you cancel the event and back down, and then right-wing people show up just doing nothing and get beaten for it, there's no narrative but the narrative, right? There's no narrative but Antifa beat peaceful right-wingers. And it is what it is. It's a smart move. Achman says, Tim, have you thought about doing undercover coverage of Antifa? Well, a lot of people have asked me and suggested it. I don't like doing surreptitious journalism where, James O'Keefe and the people like that, they go undercover and record people in secret. I don't do that. And I've got a lot of sources that are left and right, and I flat out, they have my trust. I've never violated the confidence of someone who's shared information with me, and I won't intend to, regardless of SHIELD laws or not. If the government came to me and threatened to put me in jail, and they wanted me to reveal the identity of a source, I wouldn't do it. Never have, never will. And there's a lot of stuff that I know that I can't report out of protecting sources, and I take that very seriously. I would say to a certain extent, I agree with a lot of what WikiLeaks does. I believe they are a publisher and are wrongfully targeted. But I do also understand the intensity at which they are effective, I should say. Not the intensity, but the effectiveness they have as publishers. And, as focused as they are on political content and leaks, I think it's unfair the way that Julian Assange and people associated with WikiLeaks have been treated in the organization. And there's a lot of overlap between how I do my work and some of the ideology behind what WikiLeaks does. As much as Julian Assange and WikiLeaks says they will never reveal the identity of a source, totally agree. I totally agree. So, got some more super chats here. Justin Force would like to know how long before the beanie gains sentience and takes over Timcast. Well, I'm not sure if at any point that will happen, but it is kind of cold up here. I'm just kidding. Maybe you got the Futurama reference. Elmer, why no speak Spanish? You deny you people. I can't read the Spanish, unfortunately. But I know a little Spanish, poquito. Not enough, though. Mi español es muy mal. I think I said that right. I actually grew up on the south side, and a lot of people think I'm Hispanic. And I actually can speak enough Spanish to go out and interact in Mexico. I was in Mexico City, which is a lot of fun. Spain was fantastic. Madrid is so awesome. Derek Snow, Super Chat, says, I just subbed a couple weeks ago. Love what you're doing, your channel. Thank you very much. And I appreciate everybody who's tuning into the live streams. I'm planning on doing them regularly because after doing a handful of live streams, I keep seeing people ask to do more. And so I said, sure, let's do more. Let's do more live streams. And I want to make sure I didn't miss any other Super Chats. Someone for Love says, thank you. Appreciate it. Again, if you give at least $5, your comment will appear above everyone else's. If you would like to troll me or ask questions, all are welcome. But just keep in mind that some Super Chats I can't see, and at least $5 are the ones that actually appear. I don't know how I can describe it, but I think it looks the exact same as to me as it does to you. You see like these ovals, different colors. If it's more than $10, it's yellow. If it's more than $5, it's like teal. And then it slowly drains based on the amount of money. So some people who've given, someone gave me $500 once, and it just stayed basically for the whole live stream. And $100 here and there. The more money you give, the longer your comment stays on top. So for all those that are, I'll just say this too, for the people that are in the chat section. One thing I want to make it perfectly clear to the trolls is that I have an absolutely pro-troll stance. Never blocked or shut anyone down. By all means, you're welcome to troll. I also want to remind all of the trolls that you're boosting my viewership numbers and helping my channel grow. So take it for what it is. I do appreciate it when I get bombarded or brigaded because it's beneficial to my channel. And then for the people who are actually trying to say racist things and get me to say racist things, you're sending me money. So, by all means, there's literally no downside for me here. I discourage the racism and the behavior that violates the terms of service as much as I can. But unless YouTube wants to do something about it, it is what it is. Got from Daiju666, been following you from Sweden since the Malmo and Rosengard stuff. Keep it up. And F all the fake Kakastanis, Shadowlay Bro. Well, thank you for the support. And at this point, we have a lot of Super Chats. But we can move into the talk about fake news because I talked a little bit about Luis Mensch and this guy Claude Taylor. Let me hit the Super Chat while we... Well, you know what? Yeah, I'll follow the Super Chats and we'll segue when we segue. The guest says, how do we know you're not orchestrating all this violence? You're making bank off this. Why are we going to Afghanistan but ignoring North Korea? Yeah, it would be... Actually, that's a pretty cool comic idea. The journalist... Oh, no, it's like Truman Show. Not Truman Show. Bruce Almighty. I get my Jim Carrey movies mixed up. Where he was the news reporter but had godlike powers, so he was making all this really crazy stuff happen so that he could report on it and get the exclusive, which is scary. But there's a saying that I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's something like at a certain point a firefighter wishes for a fire, and it's because people who are good at their jobs want to be on the ground reporting on things. One of the reasons I do videos every day and why I'm doing live streams is because I want to live stream content. I want to produce videos. And for a long time, I only did breaking news stories, right? So I'd be sitting around for a month just researching and reading news, and then when breaking news happened, I'd go out. But breaking news doesn't happen all the time, so I decided to up the game. Now, I'm in an empty apartment, right? There's certainly nobody I'm orchestrating anything with, but, it is what it is. Why are we going to North Korea? Why are we going to Afghanistan but ignoring North Korea? Well, Afghanistan is a long-standing disaster full of oil. And the other problem there is that every time we leave, the Taliban takes over, and they're really, really bad. So it's a complicated issue caused by the stupid decision to go in the first place because fake news wanted to push out this narrative about WMDs in Iraq, which I don't know what does that have to do with Afghanistan. But that's a little bit before my time. Let me hit these other Super Chats here. Achman8709 says, Tim, would you receive undercover footage? I'll say this. People, you can send me whatever you want. I'm not going to directly ask for anything. There's certain, when it comes to leaking, whistleblowing, and undercover footage, I'm not going to solicit anything from anybody. But I will say that I have received videos from some people and I have reported on them. So it is what it is. I'm willing to accept submissions, but I do not want to direct anyone to do any specific actions. Super chat here, Fish Bellyman. I saw that Alex Jones has been trending here and there on YouTube homepage. Do you think that in any way affects independent journalists such as yourself on this platform? I do appreciate your work. Thank you, Fish Bellyman. I don't know. I think that Alex Jones, as an individual, right, the specific show that he does is much more entertainment than anything. He sells products. He makes really outrageous claims. He cries. He rips his shirt off all the time. There's been segments where he's, drinking some kind of potion and then, shot off into the air through the roof. I think he knows that what he does is very entertaining and funny. And, to an extent, his lawyer even called him an entertainer. I know a lot of people give me flack for this because I've said that InfoWars tries to be more like a right-wing HuffPost. And trying doesn't mean successful. Alex Jones has endorsed Donald Trump, which is something it was surprising to a lot of people who know Alex because he's very anti-government, anti-politician, anti-establishment. And here he is endorsing the now president of the United States. So a lot of people felt like he was trying to go a little bit more mainstream. It doesn't mean that everything they do is true. It doesn't mean that they're great journalism, but they try to hit a more right-wing narrative that works kind of like the Huffington Post. The Huffington Post, journalistically, is a bit better than InfoWars, but still in that realm of fake news, right? I don't like the Huffington Post at all. They're very slanted. I've seen a few stories that have done really, really well, and I've seen a lot of stories that have been really, really bad. Mario Rudinsky. You missed my last question in the super chat. Can you answer that? What is your opinion on the moral equivalence between alt-left versus alt-right? Well, there's no moral equivalence. A lot of what we look at when we're... a lot of the discussion is about opinions over what is right and what is wrong. The people on the far left, this is what they say, right? There's a statement on Democracy Now! Where someone was asking, at what point do you get violent? They asked about neo-Nazis and the alt-right white nationalism and these groups that believe in the white ethno-state, which is, it's not all of those people. I'm not trying to lump them into one group, but there's an overlap. And someone said, okay, do we let them speak and then wait until after they've killed someone to attack them? And that's an opinion, because the reality is, wait until after they kill someone? No, hold on. It's not one or the other. We don't attack people who are nonviolent. If we see them getting violent, then we stop them. And that's why I've said to a lot of people, associated with Antifa, when I've talked to them, don't don't come to a rally and then get in someone's face and throw fireworks, explosives, and pepper spray people. Sure, you want to come to a right-wing rally, by all means, and then sit off to the side and watch. And if you see any of these people that you think are monsters getting violent, you can intervene. That's normal. That's called actual self-defense or the defense of others. You are legally justified in killing someone. I'm not sure if it's in every state, but if you are defending yourself, self-defense is a defense. Also, if you're acting in the defense of others. So if someone comes in with a gun and starts shooting at people and you shoot them back, that's okay. If a large group of people with weapons come out saying they're going to get violent and they don't, you can't do anything. But as soon as they do, or try to, or make a move that a reasonable person would believe was an attempt at violence, you are justified. In the instance of these Berkeley events, or I should say these free speech rallies, the alt-left has been showing up to these rallies that aren't even alt-right. They're just Trump supporters like in Berkeley or Boston, and starting fights and getting in their faces. And, well, there you go. It's an opinion. Some people say that the alt-left has a right to go to these events too, and then the alt-right starts the fights. But, look, I'll say I'm of the opinion that if someone is holding a rally and you show up knowing violence will occur, you are instigating that violence. And I think a lot of matters of law hold that similar view, that if you know full well an action you take will result in conflict, you are to a certain degree culpable, responsible for that as well. Oh, that's interesting. Super chat. Kuro Tengetsu. How long do you think YouTube will suppress alternative or independent media in favor of these NGO-controlled ads and sponsorships? This is what's really interesting. I'm working on this video. I don't know when I'll have it done or to what extent. Maybe I won't get it done. About YouTube censorship and what's been going on. I'm not sure if you all saw that video. Maybe I can pull it up here. There's a video that was sandboxed by YouTube, and it was about the racial differences in intelligence. So let me see. I think I can pull this up right here. Yes. And I'm not going to show. I just want to give you an example of what it looks like. So let me pull this up. This is what you see when you open it. Right here you say, certain features have been disabled for this video from the New Century Foundation, Jared Taylor, yada yada. And then right here, it has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. This right here, this is my analytics box. You can see some of my analytics here that are supposed to be private, but this is just a service called vidIQ. Shows you all the Reddit stuff. This is why I was telling people I get alerts when Reddit pops up. But then you can click this, and it will play the video. This is one of the videos, I think this is the first video that got entered into the sandbox. And this is where this guy, Jared Taylor, talks about it's a logical argument he's making for why there are perceived differences in intelligence and the problems around it. Here's the thing. As much as people are, there are people who believe this should be banned. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you to do this. I'm not going to do this. Here's what you do. Go on YouTube, open a new tab, and type in the most racist thing you can think of. And this video is nothing compared to some of the absolute insane racist content that exists on YouTube. So while people are worried that videos like this are getting sandboxed, you can find basically the exact same video thousands of times readily available with no problem. Got a super chat here from Talis Midnight Hair. Iraq had oil, Afghanistan has opium. I've been there, it's a lot like the Rocky Mountains. Yeah, North Korea is more complicated. Afghanistan doesn't have any natural defenses, right? It's mountainous, but there's no allies that are going to come in and screw with us. North Korea is a big problem. We heard those the chats, I think, from Steve Bannon, where he said there's no solution where 8 million South Koreans. There's no solution where 8 million South Koreans aren't killed instantly if we engage with North Korea. North Korea can at any moment devastate Seoul, and that's a huge problem. A lot of people living there. We like South Korea. We like the people of North Korea. We don't blame them. They escape and we help them. It's the government of North Korea that's causing all the problems. They're also backed by China. It's a really complicated issue. Let me make sure I didn't miss any of the super chats here. Jim Pseudonym, any long-term goals for this channel and Timcast? Also, top of head reveal when? I don't know. If I get 1 million subscribers, I'll take the head off, right? Sure. Long-term goals for this channel and Timcast. Cover news stories, continue to do my thing, and I'm planning a podcast, which is probably not going to be as soon as I'd hope, because I'm trying to find some intelligent and reasonable individuals to come once a week and have real discussions about politics. And my ideal person is going to be, actually it's 2 people I'm looking for. I've got someone who's already conservative, who's very smart, ready to go, but I want someone who's a bit more liberal so we can have, I don't want to say a balanced debate, but varying opinions. I don't want to produce a conservative show. I don't want to produce a liberal show. I just want to produce a political show where we're all friends and we all talk. Sometimes we disagree, but for the most part we agree on not beating each other over our opinions. So, yeah, that's kind of the plan. The current to get off the super chats for a while, and sure, another super chat popped up, but I'll take these over the topic of the main topic. Omar Dunn says you can draw a moral equivalence between the far left and far right. Both want to create murderous totalitarian states. Commies are as bad as fascists. I wouldn't say that. I know people who are considered alt-right, and I don't believe they want to create murderous totalitarian dictatorships. And I know people who are far left who also don't. The issue is not whether or not their intentions are to do so, but when any single group gains a monopoly, they will take actions that are probably really bad. The far left wants to get violent, and the far right has mostly been acting defensively. And this is the colloquial far right, because both groups technically are not far left or far right. They're kind of just authoritarian to a certain extent. And I should say that's the left. Many people associated with the alt-right, like that guy we saw, Chris Cantwell, he said he was a libertarian, an ANCAP, which is far right and down. So it's none of this is absolute. Both groups have people who are left, right, top, bottom. It doesn't really make sense other than their political ideology. And the far left is an amalgam of these varying voices that are ultimately deciding violence is okay. So what can we assume then when a body like this takes power, if they take power? Yeah, they'll probably beat and kill people and deplatform people. They'll control speech, they'll manipulate, and it'll be really, really bad. However, when you see groups that are espousing things like race realism and other opinions like this, we can only assume that whether or not their intentions are... Look, if you ask the far left, will you kill millions of people? They say, of course not. But then what happens every time they do? Like, Venezuela's in disarray. I don't think the murder's intentional. I think it's just negligence and a lack of priority. Sure, like with Stalin, a bunch of people starved to death. Yeah, because they're not going to prioritize feeding you. So it's a more complicated issue than that. And then when you get a lot of people who say like, oh, you know, these groups aren't smart enough, these groups are smarter, well, we've seen where things like that go. You know, so there's an assumption or a fear over what these groups will do if they gain power. And that's why I'm not going to imply that either group would do anything. I'll state the fears people have over these groups and then say, you know what, why don't we just stay closer to the middle? You can be right-wing, you can be left-wing, you can be centrist. As long as we all agree not to kill people and we don't use violence to push our ideologies, then I think we're going to be doing all right, right? Got another super chat here from Talus Midnight Hair. Thank you for the super chat. North Korea would walk to Seoul with no problems. It's extremely complicated. It's a shitty situation on all sides. Enjoy the $10. Keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, I was recently in Seoul, and I'm actually looking at going back now with the heightened tensions. I know a very well-established and prominent journalist who covers the issues that I trust to a great degree. And I've talked to this person a lot about what's going on there. You know, interestingly, the South is very oblivious. They just look at what the North is doing and they say, yeah, another day. You know, what else is new? But, you know, being there were some young people who are worried. And it's because they'll be drafted if conflict really does break out. North Korea, the border, the DMZ, is really close to Seoul. A lot of people don't know this, that they could be there very, very quickly. And not only that, but the range of the missiles that North Korea does have, as we've seen, it just flew over northern Japan, could easily reach the 30 miles necessary. So it's a big problem. How do you deal with a country as crazy as North Korea without killing our own allies? That's the challenge. I think it's going to take time. Now I saw a story, I don't know a whole lot about it, but they're talking about the U.S. and Japan are trying to starve North Korea for oil. They've done economic sanctions, and they're hoping this will work, but ultimately I think you got to give it 50 years to 100, and at the current rate, I can't imagine North Korea staying as it is for a long time. I truly believe there will be a unification. And, you know, I talked to a young-ish man in in South Korea who said that he really did believe unification would happen and he wants it. And I said, I said to him, but you're saying that only if South Korea's way of life prevails. And he said, yes, absolutely, of course. South Korea is more open and free. There's freedom of expression. It's a booming capitalistic society, and they don't want North Korea to succeed. So, someone here popped in a super chat told me to play Battlefield. I play Hearthstone a lot. Who plays Hearthstone? I play Hearthstone and Trials Fusion for the most part. I played Destiny for a while, and I played The Division. But The Division's endgame is just terrible. You know, so... Well, one thing I say often is that we're doomed, for one. But I don't know if I really mean that. I think humans adapt, and no matter what happens, things will change, life will go on, people will survive. I'm preparing, right? I don't want to say I'm like a doomsday prepper, but I've taken very small precautions. Like I said this before, I bought some gold, which surprised the hell out of me because I always used to criticize people who buy gold. Bought some Bitcoin, which is going up. We'll see how that does. But just keep in mind, man, you know, things are escalating in terms of political violence. With the Washington Post and MSNBC calling out Antifa, finally, I'm starting to think that, you know what? Maybe we aren't doomed. If the media is willing to call this out and start discouraging this behavior, if we can rally around an idea of nonviolence, then we'll make it out of this. We'll make it out of this okay. But there's something we can't deny, and that's fake news and this political violence are intertwined. The splitting of political factions is getting more and more extreme, mostly because of fake news stories. You know, I will flat out call out Mike.com, okay? And I know people who work there. So if you guys are watching, I'm looking at you. They took this video of a woman in Janesville, Wisconsin, who punched an old man in the face and then was pepper sprayed, and they edit out the part where she's punched in the face, okay? This video was only a few seconds long. The time difference from when she was punched to when she was pepper sprayed was literally 1 second, maybe like 1.2 seconds. And they did a fade to white, a white cut. And so all you see is her yelling, and then all of a sudden she's pepper sprayed. They edit out the part where she punched a guy in the face. And then the average person who sees this, who's on the left, says, oh my God, these Trump supporters attacked this innocent woman. Yeah, well, if they showed what actually happened, maybe they wouldn't have as much support. Got a super chat here from the Geth. I think if we wait too long, South Korea and Japan will go to war because we're too slow. They're the ones being threatened. Yep, absolutely. I think South Korea, for the most part, is... they're kind of ignoring it. But Japan is not going to tolerate any of this. A missile just flew over northern Japan. That freaked a lot of people out. And now, you know, something's going to have to be done about North Korea. They're bad. North Korea, you stop it. Okay? Super chat from Jessica Ustas. I've heard rumors that North Korea is about to fall into famine. If true, do you think there may be a correlation between that and Kim's actions in regards to getting aid? Usually there is. We always... I'm not an expert on this stuff, but as I'm told, we tend to see saber rattling. North Korea saying, oh, give us food, otherwise we'll fire another nuke, and the world governments do it. Because we want to avoid South Korea being blown up. So, that's a conundrum, right? North Korea has military power, and they're going to threaten people to get what they want, and sometimes they do. Diu666, what's the report count to get the Nazis out? They seem to respawn, LOL. Yeah, Hearthstone is fun. Yeah, well, the people who are posting the Nazi stuff in the chat room, they're not really Nazis. They're like ironic, you know, trolls. And yeah, you're welcome to do it. They're just mad because I called Matthew, I don't know his real name, but I called him a neo-Nazi because he was at an event with people who were yelling Nazi slogans, who were chanting and holding torches. In one instance, someone had a Nazi flag, and the people he's with, I'm not going to directly, I'm not sure if he was doing this himself, but being at a rally where he himself is a self-identified revisionist, you know, he's actually said things in praise of Hitler, and then he's hanging out with people who are saying Nazi slogans, he will be referred to as a neo-Nazi, right? That's just what the, you know, if you make yourself indistinguishable from the average neo-Nazi, yes, that's what happens, right? And so, you know, we see the far left accusing everyone of being a Nazi and really just ruining the war. It doesn't make sense. But someone like this guy, you know, that is what it is. I think the funny thing is he sought out a tweet of mine, and then when I called him out on it, he claimed that he was tagged in it, which is not true. And then he got really, really mad, and then took a supercut of the DMs I sent him, and tweeted them out because I was like, this dude got so triggered. Like, look what he's doing. I mean, the fact that he's getting these people to go in the chat room shows that he's super triggered by all this. Which is funny. The trolls, which is why I have a pro-troll policy, and totally willing to even talk about the trolls. A lot of the people who are trolling want me to talk about it, and yeah, I'm totally down. I got no beef. So I just think it's funny that, you know, there are these people who are trolls, right? Their goal is to trigger people, but then they get so triggered too. And the first thing I told him, I was like, dude, you got really triggered, and his response was to freak out. You know, this guy, Matt, is a notorious troll, and he's like somebody who has said very positive things about Hitler, and then claimed he isn't a Nazi. And then he's also been in groups with people who actually are neo-Nazis. Not all of them, but we've seen the Vice documentary. You know, some of them are. We know one guy was carrying a swastika flag. We know that some of the people he was hanging out with on camera yelling the Nazi slogan, and then he gets mad that people call him a Nazi. It's like, dude, come on. You know, you're playing games at this point, right? Nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing is, the people in the comments right now who are going ape, I don't know what they're trying to do. Like, come on, man. You guys control better than this. I'm not even kidding. Sending me money is not trolling me. Posting a bunch of racist stuff isn't trolling me. I can't even see the comments you guys are posting unless you give me money, and then by all means, you're welcome to give me money. You can do a better job. Seriously, you can. This is it's not a good job, but it is what it is. The last, you know, and I'll reiterate this too. You guys, when you come to my channel thinking you're going to make me angry, you're boosting my numbers. I did a Trayvon Martin protest coverage in New York after the Trayvon Martin stuff happened. I went out and covered this, and someone on 4chan posted my link, and they started posting a bunch of racist stuff in the comments, as if it bothered me. You know what, man? Like, it's free speech. If it's not, if YouTube allows you to do it, you're allowed to do it. I don't know. YouTube sets the rules, not me. But my numbers exploded. It was like a record-breaking live stream, like 50,000 viewers. It was nuts. And I'm like, is this trolling? You know, like coming to my channel and helping the algorithm and doing great stuff. And in this instance, sending me money. It's like, you know, like I said, I can see some comments sometimes, But with over 1,000 people watching, the comment feed is just really, really quick. I can't read it. That was the point of Super Chat, that when you give money, your comment appears above everyone else's. But then there's a conundrum for the trolls that you have to give me money if you want to troll me, and giving money isn't trolling me. Nick David, he says, Millennial Matt took off your hat in Boston to dox you. He doesn't deserve any respect from you and can't get upset at what you did to him. And did is in quotes. No, Millennial Matt didn't take my hat off to dox me. He did it because he thought it was funny, and that it was like a meme. And part of it was like totally got triggered. Like I came out and said this, like yeah, I got triggered as fuck. I got so mad. But it's like, it's not so much an issue of taking my hat off, which it is in part, but it's an issue of, I had just been, like, I just went on Tucker Carlson, they showed this video of this guy getting in my face, trying to fight me, my adrenaline's fucking through the roof. This guy took a couple swings at me, like, you know, like, feigning an attack on me. And so I'm getting wired. And as much as I keep my cool, dude, I'm getting angry. I've been attacked by these people. And I've had private conversations with people where they're like, dude, you need to just punch them in the face. And I refrain from doing that. So when finally someone comes up from behind me and violates my autonomy, as the libertarians would call it, it set me off. You know, it really, really sets me off. Having these people post pictures, like Antifa, these far left people post pictures of my mom, post pictures of me, make up lies about me. And then I have this other guy, like this Millennial Matt guy, think that I'm the butt of his joke. Look, by all means, troll me and make fun of me. That's fine. It's not necessarily the butt of the joke as being the problem. But it's coming up to me when I'm wired on the ground with people threatening me and then grabbing me as it's funny. It's not funny. And if any of these Antifa guys come up to me and make a move on me, like, it's going down. This guy came up to me and screamed in my face and took a swing at me. I stood my ground. If he touched me, it would have gotten out of hand, for sure. And the only reason it didn't get out of hand with Matt was because I was surrounded by cops. And I have to make the decision of going to jail because they're not going to differentiate, right? We saw what happened between that Proud Boy and one of the people there. And I have to make the decision. Am I going to go to jail or ignore it? And I got pissed, and that's what happened. So, you know, it is what it is. Got a super chat here. Yo, just got here. Dig the new pad. Have some money. Love your content. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you for the support. Rashad Abdul Salam. Tim, love your work. Help me start a new centrist movement based on truth, rational compromise, negotiation, and solving problems at Woke Red Pill. Well, I don't know about starting a new centrist movement. I don't even consider myself centrist, which is a thing. A lot of people call me centrist. I certainly defend centrists, but I actually consider myself liberal, and dare I say it to a certain degree, actually progressive. Like, I agree with a lot of the social justice stuff. That's why I think it's funny people are calling me a leftist in disguise. I'm like, nah, I'm not in disguise. I flat out say it. The issue is I'm not going to punch anybody, and I don't think I'm always right all the time, and I'm willing to be wrong and have a conversation about it. And I'm also going to be honest about what's happening on the ground. I don't care if a progressive or a liberal or a conservative or a far-right whatever, if, you know, when it comes to like Charlottesville, when they say like all these people were bad, and, you know, Trump said there was violence on both sides, sure, he was right. The most egregious violence came from one of the white nationalists, but the left was there with baseball bats and crowbars. You know, we got to be honest about this stuff. So we are at the 1 hour mark, and I had a lot of fun hanging out with all of you guys. If you have any questions or anything you want to say, if you want to do a little bit of trolling before we get out of here, feel free to send me more money. I appreciate it. But you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. If you want to support my work, you can go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available. And it's these super chats, it's your donations and ad revenue to a certain extent, not a whole lot, that help keep me going and doing what I do. So you can see the boxes are gone if you've been paying attention. But I got a treadmill set up, right? I got that bike right there is actually an exercise bike. So routine is coming, and we're about to get some hard work going. Sooner for Now says, thank you for the $25 super chat. Sending this because of all the haters posting. It is what it is. The haters sent me money too, so they're allowed to do that. But the apartment is getting set up. I'm trying to get some people who want to come on and do a podcast, but I probably need a producer. You know, I'm going to need somebody who's going to help book guests and things like that. And so it is not easy doing everything entirely on my own, shooting videos. I do have some help from some cool people. So that is helping move things along. And I actually, unfortunately, just had to turn down this really cool story with some people. They're heading up north. I'm not going to reveal what it is, but, you know, hopefully within the next few days, we'll have everything set up. I want to get this podcast organized, and then I've got some stories I'm looking at. Right now, the travel on the ground reporting I'm looking at is South Korea. I'm not going to go to Houston because that's going to be a strain on resources. I have friends who are there, and I would have gone before the storm, but I won't go there now with how things are happening. Depending on what happens in the next few days, I may go down to the south to one of these other areas, and maybe Houston, but I want to be really careful here because the most important thing is search and rescue first, and, you know, news coverage and all that stuff comes second. Got some super chats here. Justin Four says, radical centrist. Yes. Evocati Project, do you need any security? We can do non-lethal and covert. Yeah, maybe it just depends. It's situation to situation, so I don't know. Peter Bland says, I served in the Triangle of Death. I say to warn everyone that for a real civil war is not super great. Who wants to learn the smell of death? That's what I tell people, man. A lot of these people who are saying Trump's fascist, they've never been to a real country ruled by a despot. A lot of these people who say that revolution is good and that war should happen have never been to a real civil war and seen what's going on. It's truly terrifying when the only bridge out of your neighborhood is shut down by an armored personnel carrier, or when you're in Turkey and you see attack helicopters firing 50 caliber rounds on a bridge, just obliterating people running down the street. That is not a world you want to live in. These people who are out in these streets, these anti-fascists with no hate signs beating people, this is live action role play. Because if you put any of these people into an actual conflict, yeah, they wouldn't handle it and they would not appreciate it. I know people from Occupy Wall Street who are talking about how they hated the system and they wanted to get the hell out of Dodge, and they went to farmland. And do you know how long some of these people lasted when they went to this free farmland? Less than a couple weeks. Because a lot of them had to realize growing your own food, it's work 24/7. A friend of mine was there for a couple weeks, and she came back and I asked her, why didn't you stay? Living on a farm sounds great. And she said, because all we did was work 24/7 and we barely slept. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to the real world. America is a bubble of luxury and comfort. These ideas where these people can go out in the street and commit these attacks, they can't happen in Egypt because Egypt mowed down the opposition after Morsi was pulled from power. Sisi comes in, the military goes out and just starts killing everybody. And that's what these people are asking for. They're nuts. But that being said, we are over time, and I want to thank you all so much for hanging out. I want to thank all the trolls who threw some bucks my way to help me do the work that I do, and keep it up. Greatly appreciated. Go to timcast.com. Subscribe on PayPal. There's preset amounts, but you can also give Bitcoin, Litecoin, and if you want to send me a message about any other means of donating, I also have someone sent me gold, actually, through Gold Money, which is pretty cool. So feel free to hit me up. Any support you give is appreciated, but you know, you're free to come in and hang out and watch my videos. I never want to put a paywall in between a person and news coverage because I think it's important, and I appreciate everybody who's willing to support me for what it is. The Blue Spy sends $2. Thank you for the super chat. It says, Antifa are the real fascists. Well, fascist means authoritarian nationalism, so it's not entirely accurate, but I would say that they're a form of authoritarians, people who will use violence to push their political ideology. With that, thank you all so much for watching for the last time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TimCast. I'm going to get out of here for now, but I do appreciate all of you tuning in and hanging out, and more live streams more frequently, and I'll see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m.